nothing.
What are you talking about? I do everything. Leave
No,
me
you do
alone.
not.
Yes, I do. Go
Whoa,
away.
whoa. You gotta chill that out, man. We gotta stop this. Wait, this reminds me of something. What is it called? I think it's called Teen Dating Violence and Abuse, or Adolescent Dating Violence, ADV for short. And I think that this sort of problem here is correlated with that, you know? But what is this like type of ADV called? You know? In our research, we found a little bit more about ADV, and ADV actually comes in several different forms. One of these forms, like the form you just saw there, was physical violence. So physical violence in relationships itself can come in several different ways, such as being on your partner, any sort of laceration or fighting in between partners such as that. And this is very common in ADV, where usually men are the perpetrator of this type of attack, whereas women are usually more the victim here. But yeah, that's sort of the physical violence aspect of ADV. To move on to Sebastian.
The second form of ADV is manipulation. This is so as partners harm their partners by mocking them, making fun of them, just calling them bad names in general, just not really caring about them at all. By this, they change them in a way that they thought they would never be changed, and now transition to Dalylah.
The last form of ADV is sexual abuse, and this can come in many forms when it's talking about sending pictures that are explicit that the other person is uncomfortable with, asking for pictures or any explicit things that they are uncomfortable with, doing any sexual actions that they're uncomfortable with. Just anything that doesn't involve consent is a form of sexual violence. Now back to you, Sebastian, to talk about the causes and effects. Consequences.
Go.
Lastly, in our research, we found that ADV has several consequences. So as more females are committing suicide, homicide, and everything else. This is so as depression and anxiety, sadness, and everything is falling all together. Mental health is a big part of that, and as more females are getting trapped in this environment and not knowing what to do.
Alongside some of our research into ADV, we also found causes for these other forms of ADV, that being which poverty, race, gender, and family. So as for poverty, poverty is part of the intersectionality that causes ADV, so an environmental influence. So people that are in lower socioeconomic status, so that means being in poverty, are more likely to be perpetrators and or victims of ADV. Same going with people that are in a race class that is of the minority, so anything that is really not of Caucasian descent are more than likely to also be perpetrators and or victims of ADV. As for gender is not much of an influence, although, as stated before, men are usually the perpetrators, whereas women are 3 times more likely to be victims. However, in some cases, in some adolescent ages, women are more than likely to be the perpetrators than men, which is a pretty interesting difference there. And finally, for family, which I would argue to be the greatest influence, is this idea of the circularity of like violence in a way, which will be discussed on more later. That being which families in themselves that have systems of domestic abuse are more likely to have children who will follow through with that in their adolescent years during dating. And back to Dalylah to talk about the patriarchy.
Now for the patriarchy in the U.S., it is mainly discussing about like how there is toxic male masculinity and how that can affect families and how they perceive themselves as, because like it can affect like how they treat their family, how they treat their wives, how they treat their children, because they are supposed to be very upfront and very much equal in a way.
But what can we do to solve this issue?
I have a solution. we decided to create a community-oriented preventative strategy based on our organization. This can help prevent AED and help lower female deaths and help make the community better.
So, a little more on what my friend Sebastian was saying here. Our community oriented strategy, preventative strategy, will help students in various ways through what is a plan of attack, in which we have three methods in which we plan on going about this strategy. The first method being setting up dating counseling for teens within certain centers of the schools and other places. And this will essentially help build communicative strategies and bond relationships together with teens in dating environments. We also plan on hosting class sessions to teach about ADV and other aspects of ADV in order to educate children or teens on this issue and further prevent it and create more mindfulness about this issue. And our last strategy here would be to spread awareness. One of the ways that we have done this is through civic action. And our civic action was petitioning by spreading around the word, by getting people to sign up, and hopefully end ADV in the future. A little more on that, a little more on the petitioning process comes from my friend Dalylah here.
For civic action, we decided to do a petition where we got about 100 students and teachers' signatures, where basically it was to have a program that incorporated a teen dating counseling in the school and also had more of like teen dating abuse into the curriculum where it was like kind of like sex ed but also more about the abuse and the effects and dangers that could come from teen dating and we got about 102 signatures where if we get more we might be able to go into the school board and discuss with the school administration about how we can incorporate this into our school and have the program be set.
As for what we want our impact to be, we wanted to have much more healthy relationships with adolescents by reducing communication barriers and creating mindfulness, and also bringing down domestic violence rate with our solutions as a side benefit. However, you may be wondering, what can you do to help out in the struggle of ADV? And for that, we can all do the part of acting as support for a loved one in a domestic violence situation, adolescent or not. Keeping an open communication line and being understanding and non-judgmental to the person that is describing this type of abuse and or helping them out in any way you can. And by doing this, we all take the first step into solving the solution to ADV and becoming change agents within our communities.